yet another edition of Weekend Unnecessary Wagers. I almost said the wrong show there. We have we have a football season that has been going by at light speed. On to yet another week 8 and 9. Nick, how you doing? I think you had something to tell
Yep.
everybody.
All right. I'm doing good. All right. So here we have to thank our friends over at Novig. Uh, what's in the show's name? All right. Unnecessary Wagers is powered by Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market, available right now in 35 states, including California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and New York. On Novig, you're 10 times more likely to win long term compared to a traditional sports book because you're playing against real users, not the house. Sign up today and use promo code ETB Network for exclusive bonuses. All right. So
All
it's
right.
been a pretty wild. It's been a pretty wild week since we last did the show. A whole lot
Yeah,
of news dropped.
so a lot of stuff dropped. So let me just recap our picks. So Nick was sorry, I was 9-3-1. Nick was 7-7. Nick, that brings us now to Nick is up 60 units on the year. And for the first time since we started this show, I now have taken a lead in the units. I am up 80 units based on mainly based on, by the way, Nick has had a good month. He's been up 39 units. I have been up a whopping 111 units in the last month. So if you watch the show and take our picks, we are up about 150 units on the weekend. We had a really sort of terrible weekend of football. Not a lot going on. It was blowouts left and right, especially in the NFL. One of the worst NFL slates I've ever seen. So that it was college football was not much better. I was pretty good in NFL. We both were all right. You had a good week in college. I had a good week in NFL. So yeah, it's been a good last month for us. So because of that, gonna start.
Wait, I do have a question.
Yeah,
I don't know if you broke it down, but how many units, or do you know how many units each of us are up in
yeah,
college and NFL?
yeah. So you are up 34 in NCAA and 26 in the NFL. I'm up 17. Um, I'm up 17 in college, and I'm up 62 in NFL.
So if you
Um,
want to win money, listen to me for my college picks and listen to Liam for his NFL picks.
yes, exactly. So because we had a bad week, I'm gonna actually do something a little differently. I'm gonna start with my lock of the week this week. So my lock of the week is going to be Terry Rozier under points, rebounds, and assists. Uh, um, so let's get into that. Since we had a bad week of football, we had a very stunning, except I'm not really that stunned by the Terry Rozier part of it.
Yeah,
Very
he was named in an investigation back in February.
right. So very shocking week in terms of news of sports. Obviously, the big news, since this is a gambling show, was the indictments of 40 mob members and 3 current NBA, I guess, employees, because there's a player and 2 coaches, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones. It was semi-stunning. The Terry Rozier, like you said, he was named, and we've seen this before. We saw it in baseball and we saw it in basketball last year with some of these guys being arrested. The Chauncey Billups thing was on sort of a different level. Really not a good start to the season for the NBA. Terrible timing for them when it dropped, and doesn't feel like, if you're following the story, doesn't feel like that's going to be the be all end all of this story either.
No, I mean, you're right. It's terrible timing for the NBA, especially because the NBA got off to such a great start. Like the games have been like the product for the NBA at the start of this season has just been
Yeah,
great. I mean, the games are
amazing.
crazy. And
Yeah.
but it's overshadowed by this scandal. And you know what? If there's anybody I really feel bad for outside of the people getting scammed, uh, I would say I feel bad for Adam Silver. like I feel bad for him because it's just like I saw something where Congress is expecting a briefing from him. So is Adam Silver going to have to testify before Congress over this? And like, if you've ever seen people testify in front of Congress, they ask the stupidest questions. Like I feel kind of bad for Adam Silver because everything was going great for the NBA. Outside of this scandal, everything for the NBA really just would have been great. And this story has all different angles to it. It's not even just gambling or sports gambling. I mean, actually, the biggest part, I mean, the broadest part of this, all these indictments was not even about sports gambling. Most of it was really just about committing fraud, if anything. And also, I mean, first, the part of this indictment that shocked me the most was Chauncey Billups. Like, I did not, because the Terry Rozier thing, he was named in an investigation back in February. It's not surprising. The Chauncey Billups thing, that shocked me. And the fact that they were able to rig poker games with all sorts of special technology and 3D glasses, I didn't know that type of technology existed. I didn't know you could rig a poker game like that. Like, it is something straight out of like Ocean's 11 meets your favorite mob movie. Like this, like shame on Hollywood for not coming up with this before it actually happened, because this is just an incredible movie that it seems like we're hearing about. And it's also just reignited the whole like debate about legalized gambling. So a lot of I think a whole lot of this has just gotten into like a really stupid conversation. You know what I mean? Like a whole lot of this scandal has brought up really stupid conversation. Like people are like like ESPN was talking about the scandal, and they had the ESPN bet ticker scrolling on the bottom, and people thought it was like some type of gotcha at ESPN.
But also, okay, so first of all, legalized gambling. Let's be clear about one thing. Legalized gambling is the only reason that the Terry Rozier thing was caught.
Yeah.
The fact that they can see it. So just let's go back. So for people who are saying, well, this happened a long time ago, the Terry Rozier thing was caught the night that it happened. It was caught by the sports books. They informed the NBA. It seems that the NBA then, so Rozier conveniently the day after this happened, was sidelined for this season with an injury, which it seems the NBA has taken him off, which took him off the court for a year, which, if true, also all but confirms the story that Michael Jordan quit for baseball was really a gambling suspension. If you go back at it and see how they're,
it doesn't prove it, but it makes it more plausible for sure.
The other thing that people have to realize is, yes, Terry Rozier was cleared by the NBA. The NBA is not even in the same league in terms of investigation as the Justice Department and the FBI.
Right.
So the NBA can talk to people. They can't see what the Justice Department and the FBI can see. So that, to me, is such a moot point. This has happened. This has been happening for a long time. Listen, I think that people would be naive to think that one ref in the history of the entire National Basketball Association was on some sort of take. Just one, only ever. To me, would be a naive way of thinking. This has probably been going on for a long time. It's happened in other sports. The reason that basketball is the biggest problem is that it's the easiest one for one single person to manipulate. So it's the easiest one for one person to manipulate their stats. It's the easiest one for one person to point shave. That's where the biggest problem comes in. Now, the Chauncey Billups thing, I did watch Leftovers, and I saw that you and Nick basically both said that the guys were idiots because they make X million dollars and they're making $50,000. So first of all, Chauncey Billups was not making $50,000. He was making $50,000 for the appearance on top of everything he was winning in the poker game.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, we don't know the situation here. The Giante Porter situation, he was in trouble with the mob. So you could have had Terry Rozier or someone in Terry Rozier's family, Chauncey Billups or someone in Chauncey Billups' family who's in deep, and they say, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do this. You're going to show up here or else, or you're going to show up here or else. And so it's not as cut and dry as, they just did it just to make a little bit of extra money. I don't know if it's that cut and dry.
Right.
There could be a lot of more elements at play. I mean, I know there's been, Michael Franchese, who's a podcaster now, who used to be a mobster. Amazing how all these guys now are doing podcasts but he said that there's been times where he's on under oath to the government, saying he had 3 NBA refs on the take in the 1990s. He said that he's had football players who were in debt to the mob, that they've been told you're going to put the ball on the ground 3 times. If you're a running back, you're going to throw 3 interceptions. If you're a quarterback. So this has been going on, but it's just not, I feel like it's cut and dry as some people saying, oh, they make millions of dollars. How could they have done this? Well, we don't know the full situation.
That's true. So that is a fair point. Also, like, to me, I also think that when people like get involved with the mob or, get involved in criminal activity, they think they can't get caught. And I think that's a big part of it too. They think they're just not going to get caught. And I guess a lot of people don't. Like, in the past, it was certainly a lot harder. But I agree completely that legalized gambling is the reason that this was caught. By the way, it was also Vegas that tipped off the NBA and authorities about Tim Donaghy. Like, the people who stand to lose the most about with all of this, with like athletes betting on their own sport and things like that, Vegas stands to lose the most because they have very thin profit margins and they're the ones being defrauded. They're the ones who stand to lose probably the most, probably even more than the NBA.
Also, the people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sports gambling, legalized sports gambling, brings in people that are gambling like $500, $200, $125. The big fish that are at these poker games that are putting $200,000 on a prop, they were gambling anyway.
Yeah,
they were gambling. So it was happening. But and I don't want to spend all day on the story, but it's been something that's happened. Okay, I understand that you get in bed with the gambling companies, but this has been happening for a long time, and it's just sort of now coming out. I mean, listen, this didn't have to do with gambling, but it's a pretty accepted fact among most people that Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals was completely rigged towards the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah,
it's one of the most unfairly ref games in the history of basketball. So it's been happening. Now, the way they did it was insane. The poker game stuff, like you said, was crazy. They had black lights on the back of cards. I don't know if you saw that video where they showed you what you could see with the glasses. You could see the cards. It was crazy. There was a guy, 2 years ago, talked about how 5 years ago he had played a poker game that he knew was faked with Chauncey Billups. So it's been going on for a long time. Also, to your point of they think they're never going to get caught, you could also think, I'm going to win millions of dollars in this poker game. If I go to I'll go to prison for 5 years. I come out, I'm set. That some people might take that trade-off too.
Yeah, I guess that's possible too. But ultimately, I guess that's certainly possible too. That I'm going to make this much money if I go to prison. Who cares? I guess that's certainly possible. There was also another video about of a guy talking about. It might be the same video of the guy was talking about Chauncey Billups and how he knew about these poker games getting rigged. And this video came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I think it was the same one. There's so many weird, like, just levels to all of this. And ultimately, it's just like, but people I just want to get onto the whole legalized gambling thing. One more thing. It's like, if you think this is a product of legalized gambling, do you not know anything about history? Like, do you know nothing about like the Boston College point shaving scandal? Do you know nothing about the Black Sox? Do you know, Tim Donaghy, that scandal that happened before legalized gambling. So it's not like this is a new thing that only happened with legalized gambling.
Yeah. And like I said, these are not people that care about, so the poker games were illegal, first of all. And second of all, they're doing $20,000 blind. So blind is if you don't really know poker, it's like a come out roll in craps. It's the first hand that you have to play a certain thing. $20,000 for the first hand. So these are not guys that are worried about putting in money in DraftKings that are going to be influenced by, it's not legal. Yeah. They're playing 20,000 opening hands. I think there was like a $10 million buy-in. They're talking about like Dan Blazarian was at these games.
Yeah.
So, this was a crazy story. It's only going to get worse. the Damon Jones thing, telling LeBron. Now, Chauncey Billups did do the same thing as Damon Jones. Chauncey Billups was also telling people at the poker game, "I'm not playing this guy," which is a bigger deal for the NBA than him playing in a poker game.
Sure.
Gilbert Arenas, maybe one of the stupidest people that I've ever seen in my life, who I think quite obviously said something to the FBI, and then after they got arrested, did you see this? Came into his podcast. He opened his podcast with a lunch bag that he had written "informant lunch" on, which was just mind-numbingly stupid things to do. But it's all over the place. It's a black eye for the NBA. The NBA feels like it's constantly in some scandal. I feel like Adam Silver has dropped the ball in this more than David Stern would have, to be honest. And so that is that.
How do you think David Stern would have handled it?
I think it wouldn't have. Well, I mean, they were able to shut down that FBI thing right away. Tim Donaghy was going to wear a wire and get other referees. David Stern used to go into the locker rooms and say, if I find out you're gambling, not only will you never play basketball in another country in the world, but I'll make sure you never have a job ever. Like, he was, threatening about it. Was more, I feel like Adam Silver is more of like just open about it. And I just don't think that Adam Silver's been great at some of that stuff. The other big story of the weekend, I hammered when I woke up yesterday. I hammered Jets money line, and they did it because of the tragic passing of Nick Mangold. I think obviously he was sick, but I think I was surprised, as I'm sure you probably were too, about how quickly he passed from when we found out that he needed a kidney recipient.
Yeah. It sounded kind of similar, because I think Nate Robinson had a similar type of thing. I think it might have been an issue with his kidney. And it really is just so sad. I didn't know. Yeah, I felt the same way. I didn't know that it was as bad as it was. And like, he's not old at all. He was 41. I mean, look, I remember watching him play when I was growing up. So I couldn't believe that it was that advanced.
Yeah.
It also just sort of scares the shit out of me, because it's like, well, what exactly, like, it could be the cause of all of these kidney issues? Like, I didn't.
Well, he was born with it, I believe.
What's that?
I think he was born with it, because the first full diagnosis
really?
came when he was like 18 or something like that.
Okay.
So he's had it for a while. But best Jet in the modern era?
I mean, it's hard to say in football because he was an offensive lineman. But I mean, I think you can make that case.
Yeah,
Depending how
and
define modern
it was poetic. The Jets, really the only good game of the entire weekend, and really in both sports, in both the college and football, college and NFL. The Jets coming back, winning that game on a crazy touchdown pass by Breece Hall, possibly in his last ever time touching the ball as a Jet. Crazy win for the Jets to get sort of up off the mat. I watched the entire game. Like I said, I hammered the Jets money line. I watched the entire game, start to finish, every single snap. It really did not look good for a long time. Great fourth quarter. And just an emotional, obviously, week for the Jets, a crazy week in sports news. Just a wild week.
Yeah, although actually both of my locks lost this week.
They did.
I think that's the first time this has happened all season.
Correct. That's why I ended up taking the lead over you. You had Alabama, who didn't cover, and you had the Jets, who not only did you take the lock, but when you were reading off the Jets schedule in last week's show, you said they have no shot to beat Cincinnati.
I did say that. Well, it was before. In fairness, I didn't think Nick Mangold was about to die, so that was a big part of it, also.
Right. So that was a good win. I mean, it was an eventful week in the news, uneventful week in the sports,
the actual sport themselves,
the NFL on the field. I mean, you had my lock one with the Eagles. The Cam Scatterbo injury was not great, but the Giants are sort of falling out of it.
And by the way, what do you think about Brian Dable running Jackson Dart up the middle when the game was over at the goal line?
Yeah, I didn't love that, but I will say I agreed with him. Yeah, it was again. I was mainly watching the Jets, but I was one of the worst officiated games on both sides ever that I've ever seen. There was a clear fumble on the tush push that they didn't call. They said that they had blown the whistle when they didn't. Then Jackson Dart had a clear fumble, which they said was his arm was going forward when it clearly wasn't. Then the very next play, the Giants scored a touchdown. They called an offensive pass interference that wasn't close. It was a horribly ref game. So that was that. I mean, you had the Packers and the Steelers. The Steelers played possibly the worst second half I've ever seen in team play. Every single thing went wrong for the Steelers in the second half. We were both on the Steelers from last week's show. Every single thing went wrong. So let's hope that we get a better week of football this week and some better news in the news as well. Let's get into the picks. I'm going to start with my 1-point play. This team got absolutely shafted over the weekend, destroyed. They're out of the playoffs now, but I still think that they're one of the better teams in the Big Ten. I think Rutgers is closer to the bottom of the Big Ten. So I'm going to take the Illinois Fighting Illini, laying 11.5, bounce back spot after being destroyed by Washington in Seattle. Rutgers barely beat Purdue, had to come back to get their first Big Ten win. Rutgers is really not good. The last game of the season between Rutgers and Penn State, I think they're going to play that on Cartoon Network. It is not a great team. I got the Illini minus 11.5.
All right. So for my 1 unit pick, I am going to go with a little bit of a niche pick. I am taking Baylor team total over 33. Baylor team total over 33.5. I don't think that's changed. I'll double check to tell you if
Against
that's changed.
UCF.
Against UCF, correct. I think the thing with Baylor is that I think part of the reason they score so many points is because they can't run the ball effectively. They're in this weird sort of they're always like throwing the ball. Like most of the time, Baylor, they throw the ball like 50 times. Like every game that they've won, every single game is just super pass heavy. And I think it's going to be a similar type of thing against UCF. The only thing that scares me a little bit is that UCF statistically is very good at defending against the pass. But I think that probably might have a lot to do with who they're playing. That might really just be a product of it. Like Nebraska statistically is a very good rush defense. That could just be the case because of who they're playing. But I just like the team total over here for Baylor. I think this game's going to be a bit of a shootout. They're going to throw the ball a lot and they're going to run up the score. So
yeah, they're a classic Big 12 team.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right, 2-point play. We're gonna go to the SEC now. We had a big shakeup.
Hold up.
What?
The team total is down to 31.5.
Okay.
So put in at 31.5.
All right, so we had a big shakeup in the SEC. Brian Kelly was fired after a weird day where they were like, first he'd been explained that he'd been dismissed. I was not shocked that he was fired. I mean, I guess the Steelers' second half was only eclipsed by the LSU second half. LSU had the lead going into halftime. They were up 18-14, I think, and then they were down 45-18 at one point. It was a horrible game for them. This is not to do with my pick, but just big shakeup in the SEC, even though I did pick Illinois to beat Rutgers.
Was LSU your lock last week?
No, 5 point.
Oh, okay. Because I know
you were up at halftime, but so I should have took them first half. But yeah, really bad. But I did take Illinois over Rutgers. I do think so. I'm excited for when Brian Kelly goes to Rutgers and starts his press conference with "Where's the gabagool here?" Yeah, it's a listen. This is the most. I think. I'm surprised by the amount. Like I've never seen in college this many coaches fired in the middle of the season like this at major programs.
And I also think that generally teams are more hesitant to fire head coaches than they used to be but I think a lot are happening in the middle of the season just because I think a lot of teams have just fallen apart
Yeah.
in a way that we just haven't seen before. The only team, because if you look at all these situations, look at Oklahoma State, who is probably the worst, like they're the worst team in the worst conference. And then you have UCLA, which was horrible, also one of the worst teams in the Power Four. And also, after they fired Deshaun Foster, they got so much better. So obviously, Deshaun Foster was a big part of the problem. And LSU's season went. I mean, Penn State, obviously, everything they went from one of the best teams in the Big Ten to one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. So they had to fire James Franklin. That was worse than anybody could have imagined. And LSU, their season didn't go as bad as Penn State's, but their season just went completely sideways. And their offense has just been horrible. And and LSU is also a program where they hold their coaches to standards. Like I think in college football, there's a huge difference between how the standards for head coaches that each program has. Like you have some programs like say LSU or Florida who have like really high standards for their head coaches. And then you have programs like Kentucky and Iowa that are just satisfied with eternal mediocrity. Like you win 7 games every year at Kentucky and Iowa, you're keeping your job. And the only one that surprised me a bit was Billy Napier because they fired him after a win. Like that, I thought was a little weird to me. It's not like they lost to South Florida earlier this year. Like that was the only one that kind of surprised me. But like James Franklin to LSU or Brian Kelly to Penn State. Imagine if it effectively becomes the first trade.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my pick there is just has nothing to do with LSU because they're not playing, but is in the SEC. I like Oklahoma, Tennessee over 57.5. These teams both seem to play high scoring games. Oklahoma played one with Ole Miss last week or on Saturday. All time end of the game coach press conference with Lane Kiffin, where he was going at it with an Oklahoma player. But I think I like Tennessee in the game. And I don't know if I feel that comfortable with the spread, but I'm going to take the over. I think both these teams just play high scoring games. Take out the game versus Texas because Batia really shouldn't have come back that early. Both these teams play pretty high scoring games, and I could see this going down the same way.
Yeah, I can see that happening too. Look, I've really cooled off on Oklahoma. I really don't like Oklahoma much at all. Like every single game that they've been tested, and maybe it has something to do with John Mateer injury, but all the games that they've been tested even a little bit, they really just haven't looked great. I really just don't think they looked great. I mean, they looked great against South Carolina, but all right, I'll get okay. So my 2-unit pick, I'm taking Ole Miss, South Carolina under 54.5. Ole Miss can score a lot of points, but the thing with Ole Miss, my rationale for this is that South Carolina does not score a lot of points. So I don't know if South Carolina is going to score enough for this game to go over. And the other thing is that Ole Miss usually has trouble breaking away from teams. They're not like Ole Miss is not a team that blows you out. This is the team that they struggled against Arkansas. They struggled against Washington State. They're not even a Power 4 team. I mean, they just I don't like it. They kind of struggled a little bit against Kentucky. They don't break away from these games very much. And South Carolina doesn't score a lot of points. So I actually think this game, I like the under in this game.
Yeah, I Kentucky just doesn't score a lot of points. That's why you just have to say that you take Kentucky unders. It's almost like Cowboys overs. Like Kentucky unders are almost as good.
They're like the Iowa of the SEC.
I'm going to go with my 3-unit pick. I am taking Texas Tech, laying 7.5 at Kansas State. Texas Tech had a blip at Arizona State a couple of weeks ago. They are still a really good team. They invested a lot of money into the team on NIL before the year. I still think they're the best team in the Big 12. Low key, let's listen. You talk about parity in the leagues.
Yeah.
You got to throw the Big 12 in there too. Much better parity than the Big 10. But
the Big 10 has the worst parity. I mean, the Big 10 is everything that people said the NBA was for so many years.
Yeah, ACC kind of ACC too a little bit. I mean, I know Miami lost the other week, but
Yeah, no,
uh,
I agree.
but Texas Tech uh, laying 7.5. I think Texas Tech are the clear cut favorite to go to the college football playoff out of the Big 12, and they're going to get back on track. They had a bad loss at Arizona State, then they killed Oklahoma State, who's just a joke of a program right now. So I like the Red Raiders laying 7.5.
All right. So for my 3-unit pick, I like Florida plus 3.5 first half versus Georgia. Georgia is every week for Georgia, there's like two different games. There's like two different games with Georgia, and usually it's the first half that goes bad for Georgia, especially when they're playing on the road. Both of these teams have had an extra week to prepare, so I'm not worried about that as much. But Florida did just fire Billy Napier, and I am looking. I think there is a little bit of an interim head coach magic that goes on sometimes, but I just think this game is going to go Georgia in a very Georgia way. Georgia never really seems to be blowing teams out when they play on the road, including lesser teams like Florida or Auburn, as we saw. They're never winning games by a lot, if at all, after the first half. I think they'll probably come back and win the game, but it's going to go a very Georgia type of way.
So does it change your mind at all that Georgia's not playing on the road?
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's at a neutral site. Well, either way, it doesn't change that much. No, they're not playing at Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of agree with that. It's I don't know. I think it's one of the, I feel like Georgia always wins this game big, but
no, it's the first half.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'd like to see what Florida is with Napier. I mean, it's like you said, it's such a weird thing because they are coming off a win. Normally, you have a team that's dead coming off a loss that has a new coach.
By the way, this is a pattern with Mississippi State. Gus Malzahn was fired after beating Mississippi State, and so was Jimbo Fisher. So and this is within the last 5 years.
So that was perfect that you said that. So my 4-point play, we had an all-time video on Saturday of the comeback by Texas at Mississippi State with maybe the only Mississippi State fan that anybody in the world knows, Brandon Walker on the sideline, the winning touchdown quite literally in his face. It was one of the more amazing games. It was probably the only really great college game of the weekend. The punt return.
Alabama, South Carolina was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, true. The fumble and it wasn't as good as this game though. This finish was great. The fumble in overtime. Mississippi State. Yeah, again, Brandon Walker on the side. What happened to Stingray Steve? By the way, I never see that guy. Remember Stingray Steve?
Yeah, I do remember Stingray Steve. I don't. Yeah. How about Danny Boykin? Is he still around?
Yeah, he is. Well, the craziest thing was Stingray Steve went to Alabama. That's like the most SEC story ever. He actually went to Alabama, but he was like the biggest Mississippi State fan in the world. It was like when Dak Prescott was at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I remember those. I remember those days so vividly when Dak Prescott was at Mississippi State. It's a very SEC thing. I think SEC fans, they root for their teams and their college teams in the same way we root for professional teams. Like it's just in their region. That's just kind of how it works.
Yeah. No, it just means more. So this line doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Mississippi State, listen, they've hung in games. They beat Arizona State, who was a playoff team last year. They hung in there with they hung in there with Florida. They hung in there with Tennessee. They could have won both of those games. The only really game where they hung in there with Texas, obviously. The only really game where they really got beat badly was against Texas A&M, who probably right now you would have to say is the number one team in the country. So I don't understand this. It's a rat line to me, which is, maybe I shouldn't have taken it, but I just don't understand it. They're getting 4.5 points at Arkansas, who is atrocious. Another team that fired their coach in the middle of the season. I don't understand the line. I'm scared of it being a rat line, but I just think Mississippi State is not that bad. And like we've said, the SEC is just a parity league. So I don't think that Mississippi State is your normal 4-4 bottom of the SEC. So I'm going to take them plus 4.5 against Arkansas.
I agree with everything you just said. I think my rule of thumb in the SEC is when there's they're playing Arkansas is giving for they're playing at Arkansas. Okay, so my rule of thumb generally is I know this is not a road game. This is not a road game for this is not a home game for Mississippi State. But my rule of thumb with the SEC, especially when the road team is favored, usually is to take the underdog. But in a case like this, like 4.5 points, like it's really just a one more than a one possession game. And Arkansas, you're right, has just been terrible. Mississippi State has really just been good against really good teams. Arkansas is probably the worst team in the SEC. All right, so for what are we at? 4-unit? My 4-unit pick. I am hammering Texas minus 1.5 against Vanderbilt. By the way, this line shifted 2 points since last night. It was the spread in this game last night was 3.5. That's unbelievable. I've never seen a line shift so quickly. The public is just really big on Vanderbilt, and I got to tell you, that gives me part of the reason I really like Texas here is how big the public is on Vanderbilt. Texas has not looked good this season. I don't dispute that at all. However, most of their struggles have actually come on the road. Part of the reason I think Texas is struggling so much is because they're not playing a lot of home games. If you look at all the games that they played, okay, Ohio State on the road, they lost on the road. Texas, when they lost to Florida, that was a road game. Kentucky, that was a road game. Mississippi State, that was a road game. I mean, and they beat Oklahoma, and that was in Red River, and that's a neutral site game. They're not playing at home very much, it seems like, this season. I mean, the last time they actually played a true home game was against Sam Houston. So I actually really like Texas here to cover the 1.5 against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's look good, but I think they're more of a good story than they are a really good team. I think Texas wins this outright.
All right. All right. So I am. What are we on? Five. Yep, 5. All right, 5-point play. I'm going out to Vegas. The last 2 games that the UNLV Rebels have played, they beat Air Force 51-48. They lost to Boise State 56-31. They they beat Miami of Ohio 41-38. Shootouts. 5-point play here. UNLV versus New Mexico over 62.5. The Rebels as I just read to you, are a classic over team. They have scored at least 30 points in their last 5 games. They have given up at least 30 points in 4 of their last 5. They've given up at least 30 points, including before that they gave up 23 to UCLA, who were still on their old coach and play caller. So that it just shows you their defense is not great. Their offense is exceptional. I think that they are going to put up a lot of points. They're going to give up a lot of points. So give me the over 62.5.
All right. So hold on a second. 62.5 is the over?
Yeah.
In Ole Miss, South Carolina?
No, New Mexico.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm thinking. Never mind. All right. So what are we at? 5-unit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm taking my 5-unit pick. I'm taking Tennessee minus 3.5. Actually, wait. I think it might be down to 2.5. Even better. I think the line might be down to Tennessee minus 2.5 against Oklahoma. I love Tennessee here. Tennessee is, first of all, they tend to put up a lot of points, which I guess is good for the over. But a lot of this is really just about Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma is that good. They haven't looked good in any of the games that they've been tested. They were 4.5 point favorites at home against Ole Miss. Uh, they lost the game outright. Oklahoma has not looked good in any of the games that they've been tested, especially since John Mateer had last got surgery on his hand. I don't think Oklahoma has looked very good. Tennessee just blew out Kentucky on the road. And before you say they're Kentucky, they stink. How many teams have actually blown out Kentucky in their stadium? It hasn't happened much. So I really like Tennessee here.
All right. Let's go to the league where they pay for pay. Let's go to the 1 unit. I've got probably what most people are considering the game of the week. Chiefs Bills over 51.5. Chiefs Bills always shootout games. Always shootout games. Chiefs going into Buffalo. These games are just always shootouts. The Bills defense isn't good. Chiefs defense is Give me Chiefs Bills over 51.5 for my 1 point play.
I like that pick a lot. All right. So for my 1 point play in the NFL, I'm taking Steelers first half against the Colts. The line for the first half, to be clear, is not out yet, but the spread for the game is 3, so it's probably going to be 1.5 or 2. Probably 1.5. I would guess if it's the spread for the game is 3. I just like the Steelers to be winning in the first half and to lose the game outright because that's just a great microcosm of the Steelers season, of almost every season under Mike Tomlin. Like last night's game against the Packers was a great representation of Mike Tomlin's tenure with the Steelers in the past 10 years. Like, they looked really good for like the first, up into like the third quarter, and then they just completely collapsed. I could see a similar type of thing happening against the Colts. I mean, the Colts are a tough team, but I just like the Steelers to be winning at the end of the first half.
All right, 2 unit play. We're going to stay right there. I'm going to take the Steelers plus 3.5. I'm just going to ride against the Colts until they fall apart, which I really think the Colts are going to fall apart at some point this year. Steelers plus 3.5. I mean, terrible, just awful game in the second half last night, especially offensively, defensively too. They gave up everything, but I still am just not a believer in the Colts. I mean, if you look at their schedule, really just some of the easy games that we've seen in the NFL this year. Steelers plus 3.5. I agree that it could go down to where the Steelers lose a heartbreaker, but I think it will be close. Steelers have a good kicking game, which always seems to keep them into the games, no matter how their offense is performing. So I'm going to take the Steelers plus 3.5.
All right, not a bad pick. So for my 2 unit pick, I love Seattle minus 3.5 versus the Commanders. I don't even know if Jaden Daniels is going to end up playing in that game, but if he does, I don't know if he's going to be healthy. But also a lot of this is just the Seahawks have looked great this year, especially on the road. Like they have this amazing like road winning streak going on. Sam Darnold right now looks like a top 10 quarterback in the league. I think the season kind of is over for the Commanders. Like the whole NFC East, NFC East. The season really just is over for like 3 teams. Like they're not making the playoffs. Yeah. So I really like. What's that?
The Cowboys might.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. Who would have thought that? I don't think they're. I think they probably go 8. They're probably an 8-8.
Their defense is terrible. Their defense is just
their defense is so bad.
By the way, the Commanders' defense is atrocious too.
Oh, it is. It is, and their defense was not good last year either. But I think it's substantially worse this year. It seems like.
Yeah. The Commanders sort of painted themselves into a weird place where like they were like Jaden Daniels was so good last year and we made it to the NFC Championship game, even though it was a little bit fluky. So now like we have to stop rebuilding and go back to and sort of try and win now. And so they have they have the oldest roster in the NFL. And they have so many old guys on that defense now. Their defense is atrocious. Jaden Daniels is constantly injured. We're filming this before Monday Night Football. I'm assuming the Chiefs will win pretty heavily. But yeah, I mean, the Commanders are just. I think you're like the Commanders, like that Commanders team could be like a remember when team, sort of,
Yeah,
Like
last year. You mean last year's Commanders team?
right, right. All right. So, what are we? 3 point pick. Uh, I'm going with who is now the worst team in the NFL. I guess, yeah, who is now the worst team in the NFL thanks to the Jet win. I am going to take the Tennessee Titans plus 9.5 against the LA Chargers. The Chargers always seem to do bad in these spots on the East Coast in the early games,
Yeah.
and they don't even have to lose the game. But I just don't see the Chargers blowing anyone out, even a team as bad as the Titans. Remember, the Titans needed. Remember the Titans. Remember
I was thinking the same thing.
the Titans needed a insane stupidity twice in order to win the only game that they've won. They needed, a guy to drop the ball at the goal line and a guy to fumble an interception that they recovered for a touchdown. So they're not a good team. I'm not saying that they're going to win this game, but I just don't see the Chargers blowing anyone out. They're still pretty banged up, blowing anyone out in that East Coast window at 1:00. So I'm going to take the Titans plus 9.5.
I very much like. I was looking at this game and I thought of taking the Chargers minus the 9.5, but the Chargers, post September, the Chargers, or even in late September, the Chargers have not looked good. I mean, they had in their first 3 games, they had win against the Chiefs, obviously a very good win, and against the Broncos. I don't put too much stock into Week 1 games anyway. But since then, it was like, okay, they got killed by the Commanders, who are not good, in their own stadium, who are not a good team, and obviously they lost to the Giants. They were a missed tackle. They were a broken tackle away from losing to the Dolphins. I don't really. I think. I mean, they beat the Vikings with a backup quarterback. I'm just like, I don't put too much stock into it. The AFC is less like the NFC and AFC are just so different this year. The AFC is full of okay, there's three convincingly good teams in the AFC who are probably going to win the division, and everybody else is just sus. There's probably going to be an average, if not a below average team, at least one that ends up making the playoffs coming out of the AFC, which makes the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers feels so much worse because maybe the Jets would have had a shot if they win 7 games. Who knows from the way everything's going this year. What are we at? 3? I love my 3-unit pick. Same one of your picks. Bills, Chiefs over 51.5. This game is going over. This game is going over just like all these Bills Chiefs games do. It's not even that high. I love the over in this game because neither team has a great defense, especially the Bills. Every game that the Bills play against top tier teams ends up being high scoring.
Yeah, and the Bills have a good offense, so as is the Chiefs. So I mean, the Chiefs don't have the offense, but remember the Chiefs are getting a lot of guys back. So
I mean, I still think you can argue, everybody's talking about how the Chiefs are not the same team as last year. I still think there's a solid argument you can make that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL again.
Listen, America needs to get with just make sure that they prepare themselves because the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl. I mean, the Chiefs right now. Who are you taking?
Maybe the Lions. That's the only other team.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, my 4-point pick. This was one I thought you would like too. I didn't know if you take it or not, but Ravens Dolphins over 50.5. It seems like Lamar Jackson. I was actually stunned that Lamar Jackson didn't play on Sunday. It seemed all indications were that he was going to play on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing.
But he did not. Regardless, they won 30-16 against the Bears. The Dolphins, I don't know. This was kind of like a NFL makes no sense week. The Dolphins just absolutely shit all over the Falcons. I mean, they screwed it.
This is the same team that lost. This is the same team that lost to the Browns.
Yeah,
and the Panthers.
But the Dolphins seem to play a lot of high scoring games, no matter who they're playing. Even when they played the Bills, they had a high scoring game with. Um, they just seem to play high scoring games. Um, Even the Jets were able to put up some points on them in the end. I think with Lamar back, the Ravens will be will be bolstered. Their defense is terrible. I still right now would take the Ravens to win the AFC North, because I think that the division's terrible, but also their offense will be good enough with Lamar back. So 50.5, I think that is quite easy. I think with Lamar back, you have to think even with Huntley, they scored 31 points. If they were to do that, I'd only need 20 odd from the Dolphins, which they can do against the Ravens defense over 50.5.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad pick. I think it's on Novik, it's 49.5 now, so it's even better.
All right, I'll take that.
So yeah, it's interesting because the Ravens, like, I think a lot of people are writing off the Ravens as being really bad this year, which right now they look really bad. The only reason they look really bad though is because Lamar Jackson got hurt. Like, the fact that they started 1-3 doesn't faze me very much because those are their 3 toughest games.
Well, their defense is terrible, though. Their
What's that?
defense is terrible.
Oh,
Their
I
defense
agree.
is
I agree their defense is terrible, but like the thing is that I still think the Ravens were one of the 5 best teams in the league with Lamar Jackson as long as he's actually healthy. Now, Lamar Jackson doesn't play through injuries very much, it seems like, compared to other quarterbacks. But if Lamar Jackson is healthy, the Ravens are still one of the best teams in the NFL. They just happened to play their 3 toughest games in the first 4 games of the season. I mean, the Bills lost to the Falcons. I mean, the Chiefs lost to the Jaguars and the Chargers. Like, I just don't really think it's that big of a deal.
They had to win. They had to. I'll say this: I would not be picking. And this is whatever, but I would not be picking the Ravens to win the division if they had lost on Sunday. They had to win on Sunday. They have to essentially get close to winning out. I think they probably have to go out, but which they can do, like you said, with their schedule. Who were the 2 teams, by the way? You said there were 2 teams that look like they're going to win the conference.
I said 3.
Win. Who are they?
No, I said 3 convincingly good teams. I said the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Colts. Convincingly good teams.
Okay, you're not. Is there bias that you're not taking the team that beat the Bills and is ahead of the Bills right now?
The team that beat the Bills and is ahead of
Patriots are ahead of the Bills.
Maybe. Oh, I mean, maybe. But yeah. I said, first of all, it's not that I think the Patriots are bad, but I said convincingly good. Like, I'm still a little hesitant with the Patriots.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't think that's unfair.
All right, your 4-point play.
All right, so my 4-point play, Jaguars minus 3.5 against the Raiders. The Raiders have had a terrible season this year, and the Jaguars have actually looked fairly good. I really like the Jaguars here. I guess the hook scares me a little, but I really like Jacksonville here.
Yeah, I liked that one when I saw it too. It was an interesting. I guess because it's a West Coast. I don't know. It was an interesting line to me.
But I mean, it's a 4:00 game. I mean, East Coast time, so I don't think that the jet lag thing would affect it.
All right, my 5-point play. I am taking next Monday night's game, the Dallas Cowboys laying 2.5 against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, I think the Cowboys defense is shocking. I said on last week's show that they had to essentially score 28 points to win every game. They scored 24 this week and lost the game by 20. So their defense is so shocking. It was shocking. Like, I don't know if you watched any of the Cowboys Broncos game, but like the Cowboys got an interception on the first drive, and then they went down the field but couldn't score a touchdown. Had to kick a field goal, and that was essentially the game because the Cowboys have to score a touchdown every single time they have the ball because their offense is that bad. Dak Prescott had his worst game of the season. He's been having such a good year. He did have a terrible game against
an MVP caliber.
But like you said, he's MVP caliber. I think the Cardinals just kind of stink. They're going to fire Murr at the end of the year. And I like the Cowboys here. You're essentially picking them to win on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys are actually a decent team in prime time. I think that they are the most elite, maybe the most elite offense in the NFL. So I'm taking the Cowboys minus 2.5.
Yeah, I actually do like that pick a lot. And the Cowboys are a team where it's just like, all right, they win one, they lose one. My question is like, are the Cowboys? I remember Colin Cowherd said the Cowboys are like a quarterback stimulus package. Like every quarterback looks great when they play against. Like Dak looks great, and whoever they play against always looks great
Right.
against the Cowboys. I mean, I yeah, no. The question I have is, are the Cowboys a historically bad defense, or like they the reverse? Purple people eaters like that, like nickname level bad defense. Like I think they are.
They really are. I mean, they really are. It's shocking to watch them play sometimes.
I mean, they gave up what was it, 37 points to the Giants when Russell Wilson was playing. I mean,
Yeah, they gave
like,
up. I mean, I know they were out of the game, but they gave up like almost 30 points to the Jets. I know that the Cowboys controlled the game, but still, and the Jets scored 40, but the Bengals are the second worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah,
So
it's and like people were talking about like Micah Parsons, and I'm sure like not keeping Micah Parsons definitely made their defense marginally worse. But I will say it's not a Micah Parsons thing. Like this is if the defense is this bad, it's not just one guy;
yeah.
It's a system problem.
The Cowboys look like a team that's coached by Mike D'Antoni.
That's so true. That's a great way to put it. So what are we at? 5-unit pick?
Yeah.
My 5-unit play. I love the Dolphins here, plus 7.5 at home against the Ravens. It looks like Lamar Jackson isn't going to be playing most likely. I think I just don't think Lamar Jackson is healthy. I think it's probably going to be another Tyler Huntley game. And the Dolphins getting 7.5. I could see them losing the game outright, but I don't know. The Dolphins are a funny team. It's like they're a team when like you doubt them and then they look a little better. I really just like I don't really trust the Ravens, and the Ravens defense, like you said, has just really just been terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and, Lamar's not healthy. Like he's clearly, I don't even know if he's going to be able to come back this season. Like he doesn't play through injuries a lot, and that's not a criticism. He really just doesn't. Way less than most quarterbacks do. And any sort of hamstring injury for a quarterback as mobile as him is going to affect Jackson a lot more.
Yeah. Again, it's just it doesn't make. It's just the NFL doesn't make any sense. Like the Dolphins are so out of it. They're going to fire their coach. They get killed by the Browns, and then they come out and kill the Falcons in Atlanta. It just doesn't make any sense. But I could see that too. All right, let's go to the money. Where are we? Let's go to the money line pick of the week. So this one caveat: can't bet it if you're in New York. Stupid rule. But if you're in New Jersey, which I'm gonna wish I was in New Jersey coming in the coming weeks. But let's go to
hear you say that.
Syracuse. Let's go to Syracuse. UNC Halloween night. I've got UNC plus 165. UNC are in turmoil, but they could have won against. They could have won against Cal. They could have won against Virginia. They went for 2 at the end, didn't get it. They look like a team that's sort of improving here. Syracuse is on the downswing. They've lost 4. Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row. UNC heading to the Carrier Dome on Halloween night. Who's in the student section of a football game on a Halloween Friday night? But let's go with UNC plus 165 against the Syracuse Orange.
All right, so my money line pick of the week, I am going with the Bengals plus 128 against the Bears. I think the Bengals have proven, first of all, coming off a loss against the Jets, I think is rough. And the Bears have just looked bad, the Bears have especially looked really bad on the road. Caleb Williams is just really, I think I just don't have a lot of faith in Caleb Williams, and the Bears, particularly on the road, have been really bad. They got cooked by a backup quarterback on a struggling team, and they really just aren't a good team. I think the Bengals are fairly okay with Flacco as their quarterback. I think they're okay. And And I think in shootouts, I have a lot of trouble trusting the Bears because which I think the game will likely be a shootout. I have trouble trusting the Bears because at some point down the stretch, Caleb Williams makes some type of mistake, and the Bears are not good at playing 60 minutes of football. I like the Bengals here to win outright at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I considered that one too. All right. Time for the locks of the week. All right. I am still going to take this one. I got very nervous because their quarterback is in concussion protocol, but I'm still going to take it. I'm still going to take it. Same with the Colts. I know that Vanderbilt's going to fall apart at some point. Texas -1.5. Arch Manning might not play. He's in concussion protocol, but I think Vanderbilt's going to fall at some point. I had him losing this weekend. They didn't, very close, but I just don't see Vanderbilt making the playoff. I still could see Texas making the playoff. I'm going with Texas here.
I can always tell from your reaction to one of my picks if you also pick that game.
Yeah.
I can always tell. I knew you picked this game.
And you're not going, right?
What?
You're not
No,
going.
I can't go now because of fucking Spirit Airlines. So my original flight was at like 6:30 in the morning, and it was supposed to land like a little before 11 in Austin. But then Spirit Airlines, because they're like I guess you could say they're like a team they're almost like an NBA team that's tanking for a better draft stock. Like you can't trust them to actually want to win. So Spirit Airlines ended up adding a stop in Orlando before going to Austin, which doesn't even make sense. Like that's out. It's not even near Austin. It's not even the same path. So, and then like the flight was way later. I was like, fuck this. I'm changing my flight. So and I applied for a refund and all that. But now my new flight with United, that doesn't land till like 12:30, I think, way after the game actually is supposed to start. So I can't go to the game. And the crazy thing with me is that I've never actually been to a major college football game outside of, I think I went to like a Boston College NC State game or something like that 14 years ago. I think it was NC State. And I don't even know if I'd call that major college football. I mean, Boston College, I don't know if that even really counts. So, crazy. Me, as a big of a college football fan as I am, I have never gone to a big college football game. Anyway, my lock of the week, USC -6.5 versus Nebraska. I love USC. Nebraska has been bad this year, and I am unfazed. I am honestly, I'm completely unfazed by the whole traveling across. Nebraska's Central Time Zone, right?
Yes.
I'm unfazed by the time zone thing because what is it, like a 7 o'clock game? It's not like an early game for USC. So I really like USC here. USC has looked really good. Nebraska has been pretty bad. I think USC's offense has looked great. I really like USC. It's only 6.5. It's a 1-possession game.
Yeah. That's classic Big Ten matchup. But yeah, let's go. All right, so I took this game earlier. I debated in my head with this and the Cowboy game, making this one my 5 and the Cowboys my lock, or the Cowboys 5. I decided to take this as the lock. I just said it earlier. America needs to acclimate themselves. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. The Bills stink. The Bills, I know they just won 49. They stink. I'm telling you. The Bills are not good at what they have been in the last few years. Chiefs -1.5. I think if you're a Bills fan, you actually kind of want to lose this game because the Bills always beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and then the Chiefs always beat the Bills in the postseason. So maybe flip it on your head. But listen, right now, you look at the schedules, I'm taking the New England Patriots to win the AFC East. And I think that the Bills are not what they were. They don't have the defense that they've had. I think they're kind of doing a little bit of smoke and mirrors right now. I like the Chiefs here. The Chiefs are, like you said, when you were talking about the Ravens' hardest schedule, the Chiefs' hardest part of their schedule was at the start as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And they were missing key guys. They're getting Rice back. They're getting these guys back. Chiefs are going to turn around. I think they're going to win the game tonight before we film the show, which is we're filming it before Monday Night Football. I think they win that one easily. I think they go to Buffalo and win. I think the Chiefs are going to surprise some people this year who thought they were done. Give me the Chiefs for my lock of the week.
Yeah, and Rashee Rice being back is a huge thing for the Chiefs. I mean, he really just doesn't take his foot off the gas.
Right. He really doesn't.
I had to.
No,
All right.
No, I don't know how the Bills are going to deal with that kind of speed. But yes, your lock of the week.
My NFL lock of the week, Cowboys Cardinals over 53.5. My Cowboys overs have been hitting. Either it's because they're scoring a lot of points or they're giving up a lot of points.
Usually it's both.
Usually both. But one of those two things is happening. So I love the Cowboys Cardinals over 53.5. I think this is going to be like both. I think it's going to be like 60 points or more.
Yeah. That one's going to be
crazy how much like these Cowboys overs, like they're the Big 12 of the NFL.
It's surprising to me that, normally like teams will go over and over to start the season and then Vegas will make an adjustment.
Yeah, then they go under.
I feel like Vegas can't even adjust high enough.
Yeah, no, it really feels like it.
I mean, this one was 6. The game this weekend was 68.
Like you see much more drastic over-unders in college, like because they adjust a lot. Like a lot of times you look at these, like the Iowa State game every year, and the over-under is like almost 30, like it barely over 30. And a lot of times the under still ends up hitting. Or you look at some of these big, like Big 12 matchups, look at these Baylor games, the over-under is sometimes close to 70. You don't see that as much in the NFL. But if there's any team where you can have just a drastic overs, it would be Cowboys.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Vegas normally makes that adjustment, and they haven't. So yeah, I like those overs too. I think that's a really safe bet. All right, thank you guys for watching yet another week. We will be back at some point next week. Good luck with the bets. Enjoy the games.